Welcome to the Raising Confident Girls podcast, your guide to raising strong, confident daughters. I'm Melissa Jones, the founder of Girls Positivity Club and a teacher for over 20 years. In a world where girls often feel overwhelmed, anxious, and confused, this podcast is your go-to space. As caregivers, we navigate challenges together. I founded Girls Positivity Club to provide a place where you belong and get the tools to face today's hurdles. Consider this your regular check-in with a trusted friend, offering insights and practical tips for meaningful conversations. I'm here to help you feel confident on this journey of raising a generation of empowered girls. Let's dive in and raise those confident girls together. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Raising Confident Girls. I am Melissa Jones, the founder of Girls Positivity Club and your host, and I'm so happy you're here today. It is, if you're listening in real time, July, which is in America, the middle of summer, really, and it feels like it just started. And if you are not in your summer month, because I know we have people listening all over the world, just think about this as the summer months time of year, or this could be during a break or something like that. So these are things that come up for girls at any break when they're away from school. So what I'm talking about and describing is 5 things that your daughter may be feeling this summer, but doesn't know how to say. And again, these could be things that come up anytime, but are especially heightened in the summer months. And after leading Girls Positivity Club summer camps the last couple of weeks, because we had our June camps, I've been really reminded of just how much happens under the surface for girls over the summer. And it's really come out in lots of different ways at camp. So it's having strong emotions. It's getting along with new types of people when they've been used to a certain class or group of friends. And it's maybe being a little uncertain of trying new things or trying something a different way than what they normally do. Or it's being in a bigger group if it's a bigger camp, or they're used to a smaller setting, something like that. And so even when they don't say it out loud, they're feeling a lot of things, even in the summer when there's a little bit more freedom. And it can often catch parents off guard. So I want this episode for you to be for any caregiver or parent of a girl ages 6 to 18 who want to feel more connected, more aware, and more empowered to meet their daughter where she is emotionally this summer. And so I want to explore 5 hidden things that she may be feeling right now and how you can show up for her as her support and understand her a little bit better. Before we get too deep into the episode, though, I want to remind you that the best gift that you could give this podcast community is to share it with another parent or caregiver of a girl that it could help. That just means the world. If you share the show, there's a share button. Or if you just want to send them this episode so they could try it out, I would really appreciate it, because the intention is we want to really be a village who is raising the next generation of young women who feel confident, feel connected to you, feel connected to each other, and that you are able to support her as she's growing up to grow into the positive leader and young woman that she is, feeling very confident and strong and knowing how to handle hard things in positive ways. So this podcast, I hope, is a toolbox for you and gives you ideas, because I would love it if you could take away one thing that you could implement immediately and try with your daughter or the girls in your life. And that is always the intention. So I always love hearing from you. Let me know what's working and just what you're up to this summer with your daughter. It gives great insight, and it's always great to hear from listeners and people in our community. So these are the 5 things that she may be thinking, but she doesn't say out loud. Number 1 is, I miss my school friends, but I don't want to say it out loud. So this could be at a younger age. Let's face it, some girls do say it out loud. They're like, I miss my school friends. And then that's obvious. But sometimes they can say it in different ways. So they can say, I'm bored, even when there are options available. And yes, I know it's a normal kid thing to say that you're bored, and there's always something to figure out. And I also think that there's value in kids being bored. But what she may mean is, I miss my people, and I don't know how to tell you that I'm starting to feel disconnected. So this could be like, for example, we don't live really near any kids. We live in a small farm area. And so my teenager doesn't live anywhere near friends. And so we have to make an effort to go make plans with friends. And so that could be the case. It could also be the case that your daughter's friends are really busy. Maybe they're traveling, maybe they're going to camps, and maybe she is staying at home because you have a job where you work from home, or you have a flexible schedule where she's able to be home a little bit more. Or maybe in the neighborhood, she does have neighborhood friends and she likes to hang out with them, but she is still missing some of her core groups of friends from school because they haven't had much time to hang out. So her saying, I'm bored, and, something like that could be, yes, she could be bored, but it could also be that she's missing her people. So it's just asking about that. And especially if she is a person who is like, when do I go back to school? Or talks about her teacher, her classmates, missing them. She could be telling you that she really misses her routine. She misses her friends that she's used to seeing. So it is kind of like pulling the rug out from under them when yes, they want to break from school and their routine, but also the familiarity of school and seeing the same people, seeing her friends regularly at recess or in passing periods, whatever that is for her age. It can be pretty disheartening to not see those people at all anymore when you spend most of your time with them, and even more time than you even spend with your own family. And so, them asking when they go back to school could be, yes, a scheduling thing where they want to know, but also it could be that they're missing their friends. That's very possible too. And so this could be an unspoken way that they're saying that. And then the thing that I see at camp is when they get overly emotional about a small thing. So about something that breaks that's small, a canceled plan, not winning a game. It could be a deeper feeling. And I see this, like I said, I'll see this occasionally at camp. Now, we have activities built around it that help girls feel supported and things like that. But I'm thinking, if it's something kind of out of character, we're like, this is a big emotion for a really small thing. Feeling left out and not knowing how to name it yet is the deeper feeling that they could be feeling. And this could be even at camp, meeting new friends, maybe only having one friend at the camp, and then that friend having other friends there. So they might feel overly just emotional about that. And I think that's legitimate to feel, especially if you're going to a camp or an activity where you thought you were going to hang out with one of your friends that you already know so well, and then they end up making friends with other people. So they may not know how to say it, but they're just really feeling left out. And so what my job is at camp, and my volunteers, what we teach is that they pay attention to that and they invite them to join a group. They help work them in and introduce them to new people so that they're making more connections. And that's, I'm sure, one of the goals, if you're having them go to camps or go do new activities, is that they also meet new people and they start forming new connections, that they can feel a lot of feelings about it. And of course, that's totally normal, but they may not always have a name why they're feeling a certain way. And they may not always know. Like I had a situation with a girl who, she spends part of her summer with her dad and part of it with her mom. And she had just been with her dad for a couple weeks and she was really missing her mom. So she was having strong emotions even about that. So it could be even a familiarity of an environment. So it doesn't even necessarily only have to do with friends. Another sign of her missing her friends or missing a certain thing is following you around more than usual. So this is like, they don't know how to ask for it, but they're wanting more connection with you. And they're just kind of following you around. I did this with my mom growing up. And my aunt actually pointed it out that I was being like my mom's shadow. And it was because I wasn't comfortable with my cousins completely because I didn't feel like I knew them very well. And so it felt more comforting for me to hang out with my mom than it would be to push myself and get to know my cousins a little better and figure out activities to do with them and things like that. And so I was just feeling a little bit insecure about that. So It could be that they're missing their comfort people of their friends, or it could be too that they're just needing that closeness with you to feel a little bit more secure if they're in a new situation, which happens a lot in the summer. Even going to the pool, like I remember, and I've seen this with girls and they've talked about it too, like meeting new people at the pool, if you have like a community pool that you go to, and knowing how to like introduce yourself to someone and things like that can bring up a lot of just hard emotions of like, okay, what do I say? How do I do this? What do I do? And so them kind of sticking to us more closely is their way of trying to feel more secure. But we want to give them those tools of, talking to them about it, like, hey, what's going on? How are you feeling about um, your camp? And tell me about your new friends you're making. And, having those conversations of like, who would you like to spend time with? And as they're getting older, so this would be like that younger group, all of those descriptions would be for like 6 to 9, but I think also it could be at any age. At 10 to 13, they could say things like, everybody's doing stuff, or everybody has plans. I've tried to get together with, this certain person, but they're going to be on vacation, and this other person is doing this. And so I went to their house to ask if they could hang out or play, and they're at someone else's house. So this could also be as they're starting to get online and on social media at the older ages, them starting to feel like everybody's having a party without them. And they're not literally having a party, but it looks like everybody's having such a great time together. And that can make them feel really left out. And so they can get quiet after they've seen something online where they've noticed that their friends are hanging out and they weren't there. And feel kind of like, I don't know if anyone's thinking of me because no one's really inviting me to things. And it looks like all of them got together to do, XYZ, and then they're seeing it. And they're feeling a little bit of just feeling like they're missing out on all the fun. And then they may even stop initiating text or hangouts once this happens a little while. They might just get sad when others don't text them or reach out to them. And so what that might mean she's feeling is that she wants to be included, but she's scared of rejection. So she just stops initiating that because she hasn't had good results. And so they've either not texted her back, or they've not been home when she's gone over there, if it's a neighborhood friend, or maybe you've contacted the parent to see if they can have a hangout or a sleepover, and they're not really getting back to you. And that can make her feel like that they're not caring. And it may be hard for her to say because she's scared of that's rejection. She might also, in this 10 to 13 age group, get moody after seeing group chats or stories or summer photos. And she may be feeling like she's comparing herself to them and wondering if she belongs with them anymore, especially if one of her friend groups is hanging out more than she's invited. She might start to feel that way. Or in the neighborhood, if she's noticing that certain friends are hanging out more and they're not necessarily including her, she may start be wondering like if she belongs. She might also mention at this age being over a certain friend or not wanting to go somewhere she usually likes. So this is often tied to disappointment or feeling excluded or having that fear of drifting apart. And then as they get into that teenage year time frame, they might say they're fine. Like, you seem a little bit sad today, you want to talk about it? And they might say, I'm fine. But she's very withdrawn or feels a little bit disconnected, a little bit distant. And what she's likely feeling is that she doesn't know how to talk about what's bothering her, or she's afraid she'll sound dramatic if she talks about it, because maybe on the surface it seems like a small thing, like her friend group all went out to get ice cream and they posted about it and she saw it and she wasn't included, and she doesn't want to make a big deal about it, but she did feel like she didn't belong, or like she's wondering, why did they all get together and not tell me? She might also at this age spend more time alone or in her room, but seems kind of off or restless. And what this could mean is she's not sure where she's fitting. And so she was trying to sort it all out on her own. And this is where we can step in and we can support. And all of these things obviously are just signs of when there's might be something off with her feeling a little bit left out and like she's missing certain friends and maybe even the routine of school. And then another one at that 14 to 18 age group is she may be becoming hyper focused on productivity, like getting a lot of things done. Like I work with a girl who is 15 and they're moving. And so she's like trying to be really productive. She wants to stay on top of like her application of going to this new school and her essays she has to write and this extra summer class she's taking and all these other things, organizing her room, making sure she has everything packed. And so she also, though, and I know this because I work with her one-on-one, but she also is feeling a bit disconnected from one of her core friends because her friend is kind of struggling with some things herself. And so it's all about like noticing those things. And so being hyper focused on being productive and getting a lot done could be a sign that she's feeling like she's missing certain friends and she doesn't know how to say it, or she's, feeling a certain way about this change that's coming up, if it's going to a new camp or moving or just having the space in the summer that feels a little bit uncomfortable because she maybe thrives on structure and likes that. And another thing when she's 14 to 18 is she could get, and again, these could be any ages, but she could get defensive when you ask if something's wrong. And under the surface, what she really is saying to you is she wants us to care, or she wants you to care, but she doesn't know how to let you in. Like maybe, again, she doesn't even know where to start, or she feels, especially at this teenage, it's like they're trying to act older, but they still have feelings that are normal human feelings, like feeling left out, or, she may think to herself, I don't want to be a baby about it. I want to act my age, or I don't want to seem like this. Like it almost feels embarrassing to admit that they're feeling a certain way sometimes, even though we know that we're going to accept them no matter what. And like they can talk about these things. And so what you can do is ask them if there's someone that they've been thinking about, but they haven't talked to in a while, and offer to help her reach out or plan just like a simple hangout or a simple activity where they meet up somewhere, and seeing if that really helps her feel more connected. And maybe having a few of those in mind, and maybe hosting something, like maybe she has them over and you do a baking activity with the girls, or maybe you do something that she would like to do with them. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that you go someplace like a big amusement park or go to a special event. It could simply be doing something that's maybe a little structured if she likes that, which is maybe they get canvases and you have a little painting party where they get to do that, and then they hang out, and so there's some structure to it, and then there's some openness, so that especially as they get older, they're not just hanging out and not knowing what to do. Like they have something planned and something to look forward to. So that's number one, is they may not always know how to say that they're missing their people, and they don't know how to say it out loud without it coming across a certain way. And again, I think having the conversation with them of like, you don't have to be perfect about how you even bring these things up is so freeing for them. And just, that's why it's so important to have those regular check-ins, to make sure that you are checking in about how they're doing, and you have different ways of doing that. And you talk about things like friends and bring up those topics that you may be sensing, but they don't know how to bring up. And so the second one is feeling pressure to have this like amazing summer, best summer ever, because maybe they were talking to friends and they're telling them about the vacations and the camps and the fun things that they're doing. And maybe your daughter wanted a less structured summer, or maybe you aren't going on vacation right now because you're going on vacation another time of year. Or maybe your family doesn't take a lot of vacations. You do more staycations. And whatever the case would be, there can be this pressure of having the best summer and not knowing really how to tell you that they want to do things. I mean, yes, there are girls that are like, I want to do something, but also they don't have to be busy the whole time in order to have a great summer. And so a clue that they may want to talk about this, or they may be feeling like they want to do a lot of things so they have a lot of memories, is this is especially common for high achieving girls who like to achieve things or like to cross things off their list and they like to be busy, is if they're asking constantly, like, what are we doing today? What are we doing today? And this could be when you're off, maybe you have a day off from work and you're wanting to have more of a relaxed day, and they're like wanting to go and do something fun. And so she may be feeling like she wants to just have all this fun and have these big things that you're doing, and just letting her know that it's okay if you don't have something planned all the time is so important. But if she's asking all the time what you're doing, it could be a clue to you that she needs to talk about it, and like ask her why not why do you want to do something fun, but like, what would make you feel more aware of what we're doing, or what are some things that you'd like to do? And this is where you could do that summer bucket list, where you create a list like, you know what, you're wondering what we're going to do today. Why don't we make a bucket list of some activities that you would like to do this summer that would feel good for you? I can put some on, dad can put some on, whoever, brother, sister. Or maybe they could just be their bucket list of like, these are the things that would make me feel good about my summer. And they don't have to be all trips, or they don't have to be all big outings. They can be ride your bike to the library and do, like, a lot of libraries have like summer activities going on, or have a lemonade stand, or go get ice cream on a random Wednesday, whatever that would be. So there are ways around all of these things, or not around them, but ways to work through them. And so another thing that may show you that she's feeling pressure to make it the best summer ever is if she gets disappointed really easily when plans fall through. Like, not normal disappointment where, yes, of course, everybody gets disappointed, but more like she feels like she's missing out on doing more activities. So if you notice that she's kind of fixated on that, and then if she's relying on you for all her stimulation and like all her activity, like she's planning things all around you, and you want her to have some alone time too, and time with friends where she's able to, have choices and be able to do certain things and have some ownership of what she does in the summer, not just rely on you entertaining her all the time. So this is like from the 6 to 9 age range. And then at the 10 to 13, it could be, again, that comparison of other people's summers, wondering, am I missing out on something, wanting to be fun, like having packed and fun days with plans. And this can come from not wanting to be alone and wanting to be around people all the time. If she's complaining again that she's bored, even when she's busy, and it's really not bored, it's more like having these high expectations and having fatigue with that. And then as she's getting older, 14 to 18, she could start overcommitting. So this could be like she's signs up for so many things that she's exhausted, or that she isolates herself and she doesn't want to do anything, and she spends a lot more time at home. This could be her getting moody after outings or after activities. Like some of the older girls they told me that they were forced to come to camp. They ended up having a good time, but they were like, yeah, I was forced to be here, but I'm actually having fun. And so they could have different mood shifts. And this could be if she feels like that she was let down, if she did something, it wasn't as fun as what she thought it was going to be, or as she imagined. And then she could say things as she's getting older, like, this summer is lame or boring or cringy or whatever they say. And this could mean that she's feeling disconnected, or she's just feeling like off track with what she expected about the summer. And this is always a good conversation that you can have with her about, and like talking to her about, like, instead of chasing a certain idea of what the summer should be, let's make it something together. Like, what is it that you're expecting, and what is it that you're wanting out of the summer that could feel good for you or could mean something? Like, what are some things that would make you feel more connected, more just happy about your summer without it having to have a million things on the summer bucket list? And the third thing that she may not want to say out loud is that she wants more freedom, but she doesn't know how to ask for it, or she doesn't maybe know how to ask for it in the right way. So sometimes this can come out in an argument where she's like, you always tell me everything I have to do. I don't ever get a choice. Or you never let me hang out with my friends. This could come out just in frustration and anger at different ages. Or this could even be at a young age, like walking to a certain friend's house that you feel like is far away, but maybe her friend is able to do it and she's not. And she's like, you guys treat me, like I'm a baby, and I'm 8 years old and I can walk to my friend's house, and, just all these things where you're thinking safety. And so this could be something she says, or I can do it myself. I don't need any help. Or she pushes back on bedtime because it's summer and she wants to stay up later, or like your certain routine. And so she's wanting a little bit more freedom, and she just isn't sure how to say it or what the appropriate times of her having freedom would be. So maybe for you, bedtime, even when it is summer, is a little bit later, but you don't want her to stay up all hours of the night. And so maybe for you, that's not something to have freedom about. Maybe it's in the afternoon at this certain time, she could choose whatever activity she wants to do. And so maybe she's wanting to make her own breakfast, or walk ahead to the store, or stay up a little longer. And then when you offer to help her, she gets really defensive. She gets a little bit snippy. So that those could all be clues at the younger age, 6 to 9, that she's wanting some independence in some way. And 10 to 13, she's wanting to hang out with friends on her own or walk to places again independently. She is comparing to other friends of like, other kids don't have to check in the way you guys always want me to check in. And so it's her feeling like you want her to check in more than her friends do, or her friends' parents do. And she doesn't think that's fair. Or she's eye rolling, and it's not necessarily just the attitude. It's just that she's wanting to grow up and you're wanting to protect her, and there's a mismatch there. And then as they get older into that 14 to 18 age, it's like they want more privacy. They want more independence. They say, don't worry about it if you ask about something. Or they may break a rule, not to be disrespectful, but to prove that she can be trusted, which doesn't make any sense to like not to break a rule and then want to be trusted, but it's like they're testing the boundaries of it. And then she may want space and closeness. So there are times when in that teenage, they want to be with you, but they don't. And they want their space, but sometimes they don't. And so I notice when my teenager comes in and sits beside me or starts talking to me about something while I'm cooking or something like that, that's normally a time when the closeness is needed. And the push and pull of this age, and really all the ages, is totally normal. They're just trying to figure it out. And what they need from us is for us to acknowledge at any of these ages that they want more freedom, and that it needs to be something that you both feel ready for. So then having that conversation of like, what do you feel ready for this summer? And so maybe it's not walking to the corner store, which seems too far away for you, but maybe it's walking to another friend's house and you watching from the porch. Or maybe it's riding their bike in a certain area that is a little bit further away than what they were allowed to during the school year, but they're just wanting to show you that they can do it. So it's setting up these little boundaries, but also giving them some freedom of exploring and having a little bit more independence at any age. And it's a trial run. Like if you could have parameters like, hey, you can go there, but I want you to be back at a certain time. And so if they break that rule, then you readjust the boundary, or you have a certain agreement that's like a mutual agreement. Okay, if you're going to do this, then what I need to make sure from you is that when you get there, you text me or you check in on your watch or whatever the rule would be. And so this helps her feel like you're trusting her to give her some independence, and you're hearing her, you're seeing her, and she is able to have a little bit more freedom without it feeling too open for you. So just having those conversations. And then number 4 is I feel bored and I'm frustrated by it. So again, I think boredom is a very good thing for kids because they have to figure out what to do outside of their phones and outside of electronics. And so that's when they might learn something at a camp or at a place that they go to this summer. And even if it's just a couple hour art workshop or something, they learn a new technique. It's figuring out without you having to rattle off a list of things for them to do and how they can work through boredom and figure out on their own how to entertain themselves, because that's a good thing to do. But at the 6 to 9 age, they could be whiny about it, or they could have a meltdown, or they could be constantly interrupting you. And it's not boredom necessarily. Sometimes in those cases, it's them feeling kind of out of sorts and dysregulated about things, and they're just not sure what to do. They feel frustration. Their bodies are just feeling irritable. And so it's just noticing that about them. And it may be that they're having a hard time entertaining themselves, even when they have access to all the toys, all the crafts, and they're still complaining about being bored, and you're feeling frustrated by it because they should be able to figure out what to do. But at the same time, it's almost like they have too many options, or they've done that before. And so what I've done in the past is like run through a menu of things they could do. And they're like, no, 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 no. And they say no to everything. And then there's the frustration of like, well, you're being bratty, or you're being unreasonable. I don't know what to tell you. Just figure it out. And then they end up figuring something out. But I know for me anyway, when I've gotten to that point, it's like, I wish I didn't have to get to that frustration point. And the fact is, there are going to be times when as adults, we don't, we're bored and we're not sure what to do, and we have to figure that out. So it could even be with siblings. They're picking fights because they're feeling a little bit stir crazy. They're not necessarily bored. They're just wanting something to do. And so they start kind of fighting with their sibling. As they are getting older too, it could be that they are alternating between being super busy and totally checked out. So there's like extremes. And maybe they're complaining when there's more free days than structured ones. So this could let you know that they like a little bit more structure. And even what I've found is them planning things and having that power and doing that is really powerful. And so it's sitting down and having a conversation about that. It's bringing out the summer bucket list. It's saying, I know you've been saying you're bored a lot. Tell me more about that. Like, why do you think you're feeling so bored? And then they might say, well, all of my friends are on vacation right now, and I just feel like we don't ever go anywhere. We just stay home, and I get bored by that. And then that could open a conversation of like, would you want to be around other people, like other new friends? Maybe we can see if there's a painting class nearby, or maybe we could see if, this other thing that you could go to, or would you like to do this? And so it's kind of pre-planning some things that she would like to do that would alleviate those feelings. And it's also checking in with how she is feeling about the summer, and if she's wanting a little bit more structure along with the freedom too. And so she may need a little help naming what's really going on. Is it that she is feeling a certain way? And so it's helping her name, like, what is it that you're feeling? And so I know for me, I felt a lot of loneliness because I was an only child. And even though I have a sister now, all of my childhood, I didn't have a sister, and she's much younger than me. And so I never even grew up with a sibling. And so I didn't really have that many friends in my neighborhood, and they were mostly boys, and I like to hang out with girls. And so it was hard for me in the summer because I just had to entertain myself all the time. And so I'm not saying that's every kid, but I think I would have liked to have gone and done something, but I didn't know how to say that, or I didn't know exactly what was open to me. And so it's having that conversation and finding out where she's at. If she's having a lot of these I'm bored comments. And as they're getting older, it could be they're just on their phone for hours, which I know is a whole thing for teenagers anyway. And there's a difference between mindlessly scrolling and being connected with friends and keeping in touch, because I know my teenager does both. And it's noticing that and building in other things for them to do. So it's maybe their certain activity that they love to do, or maybe it's taking them to do something, or whatever it would be for you that works in your lifestyle and what's going on, like as far as your work schedule goes and what you're able to do. And it's also them saying, they might say, I just don't feel like doing anything. And so this could be they're feeling sad, they're feeling lonely, they're feeling like they're shifting and they're wanting to be more independent, or they're changing their interest or whatever. So it's not always a sign of laziness. It could be that they're trying to figure things out. And I know for my teenager, it has been a lot of loneliness because of where we live. It's not always easy to get together with friends. And so doing online games is a way to connect with friends outside of having a summer job and having a sport and things like that. And so it's just figuring out what works and checking in with them about what they need and what they'd like to do with their friends or with their summer. And, you might ask them something like, if you could plan 1 hour any way you want, no chores, no rules, what would you do? And I think sometimes we are going to assume that they would say a certain thing. And sometimes they are things that are outlandish, like fly to Paris or something like that. But you could also set parameters of like, okay, that's fun. What would you really do? Like, what is something that you would like to do that we could actually do? And so then they tell you that, and then that opens up a whole conversation. And so that just taps into like what they are really craving, and it'll give you some ideas as to why they're feeling bored and how you can check in about that and help them work through it. And also acknowledging that it's okay to be bored and that everybody feels that from time to time. And the last one, number 5, is I don't know how to tell you I need you. So this comes into play, especially I know in the 2 camp weeks that I just had, I was very absent at home because I was at camp for like 14 hours a day plus, and also coming home and doing stuff for it. And so I know my family can feel ignored during those camp weeks, but it's not always spoken of like, we miss you and we need you. And so at the 6 to 9 year old age range, it could be them saying they want to sleep in your bed, or they want to have a day just you and them, or they're more affectionate or clingy or more emotional than usual. It could be they regress back to baby talk, or they start throwing tantrums. And what this is they're just needing reassurance. They're needing us to tell them that even though you're busy, you're still there. And maybe making some special time with them is going to be something that's really needed for them. At 10 to 13, they could say, never mind when they're upset, but you can tell something's off. It could be they want connection, but they test you to see if you'll actually show up and follow up. It could also be that they initiate a talk, like a deep talk, at the worst times. And this comes back to, I talked about this in the last episode, is like making time when they start opening up to you, even if it's inconvenient, even if it's in the parking lot somewhere and you're in the vehicle and you're getting ready to go somewhere else, or even if it's when you're in the middle of something, it's stopping what you're doing and really listening to them because they're craving that emotional connection with you. And then as they're getting older, in that teenage of 14 to 18, she can seem distant but light up when you ask her a personal question. So she's really wanting that personal interaction with you. It could be that she shuts you down one day but then opens up just casually the next. It could be that she'll notice your small efforts even if she doesn't say it, you can just tell she notices. So maybe you put a note on her bed of like, hey, let's do something tonight. Let's go for a walk together tonight. Let's watch a movie together. Let's make dessert for the family tonight, whatever it would be. And you can just tell that it really means a lot. Those are signs that she really values it, that you are, that she's needing, and you're trying to make an effort. She's needing you and she's not quite sure how to say it. And so just having these quiet connection points, like the car rides, like the errands, like sharing a show together that you watch, like dropping a note on her bed, like saying to her, hey, I know summer's different for you, and you're doing a lot, or I know that I'm doing a lot, I'm working a lot, and I just want you to know that I'm here and I do want to do things with you. So let's plan something together. And so all of these things can be things that they don't want to say out loud all the time. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't, but they show us with their actions. And I hope that these things have been little clues that can help you understand her a little bit better. And maybe you can try one of these ideas and just check in with her and check in with yourself about how has she really been acting this summer, and what do I notice about that, and how can I use it to strengthen our bond and to keep checked in with her. And so whether you're a mom, a dad, a step parent, a grandparent, a mentor of girls, just remember that your daughter doesn't need a perfect summer. She needs someone who sees past the eye rolls, past the silences, or the I'm bored, or notices the feelings underneath. So she needs you to notice. And connection isn't about doing everything. It's about showing up when it counts. It's about letting her know she's not alone in all of her growing up moments. And that's really what it's all about, is just being there. And I hope that this helped you. And if you would just send me a DM and let me know what stood out most, or share this with another parent who's navigating summer with a girl who's growing up, shifting and learning who she is, which I think is any girl, I would so appreciate it. And if you ever need anything, or you have topics that you'd like me to cover on the podcast, you're welcome to send me a message at girlspositivityclub@gmail.com or anywhere on social media. I'm the most active on Instagram and Facebook. So I hope that you have the best summer. And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're just making those meaningful memories that count. And don't be afraid to check in with her about these things that I've mentioned. And until next time, keep raising those confident girls and do something small with your daughter tonight to stay checked in. And you'll feel really great about your relationship, even if it isn't perfect all the time. I'll see you next week. Thanks for joining another empowering episode of the Raising Confident Girls podcast. Share today's insights with caregivers and friends, building beautiful relationships with strong girls. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're not just a podcast, we're a community. Follow Girls Positivity Club on social media for more empowering content on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. This podcast empowers you, supporting incredible girls. Let's create strong, beautiful relationships with the girls in our lives. I appreciate you listening today. Stay confident, stay connected. Until next time, keep raising those confident girls. You've got this.